Hey there guys, today we're looking at Tino. He's playing Roamer on Gullywash. I don't really know what div he's in, but it's an ESEA match, so let's see how it goes. Let's fast forward through the rollout a bit. Alright, so if your demo's going choke, and their demo goes choke, it's really stupid. Like, you just end up taking a lot of damage on soldiers, so you're kind of forced to go underneath. Maybe you go drop down, or even your drop down just to get the pack. But right now this mid is pretty shitty. You may have even wanted to do like a 27 hop out of the door just to maybe avoid some sticky damage, or hug the exterior walls just to not take those first 3 stickies and kind of concede to a little bit slower aggression, but you obviously have a lot more health. Now, like right now you just lose. There's not a whole lot you can do. And yeah, they just kind of mulch you. I think that's why I don't know, I would have my demo go big door just to avoid that kind of awkward situation where both demos are destroying the enemy team's soldiers, and just which one happens to get lucky or a bit better damage wins the mid. So it's just an unfortunate situation, and it's pretty awkward. So you're probably going to want to defend too as a team, so you might look to go lower, pick up this bottle, and then yeah, it looks like that's what you're going to do. But I probably would have gone to the lower shower door just to keep people out, because I expect them to be pushing off of your death, because I don't think they lost anyone at mid. But it's fortunate that you have time to get a buff. Don't want to take that fall damage there, because it kind of defeats the purpose. This is going to decay before you can really use it because of that. Yeah, you're just kind of chilling here. You might as well retake a buff, pick up the bottle and take a buff, pretty much. You don't want to be pushed on. Okay, so as soon as they start pushing, obviously you want to stay here just to kind of deter scouts from getting in. But until that point, you want to take a buff as frequent as possible, especially if your med's in a position where he's very central and easy to get to. And your pocket and demo, because they're up top, they're not going to be taking a whole lot of damage themselves. So you have the opportunity to kind of get healed like that. That's kind of the advantage of playing like that. So I think they just dropped one, so you should be looking to sack in right here. It's probably not going to work, but it's okay. Your spawn's going to be pretty synced up with their guy that's respawning, and I think it's a soldier that you got anyway, so it should be fine. Don't know if they ended up Ubering there, because it looks like you guys didn't Uber, so maybe they don't have an Uber right now, who knows. So you're probably going to want to come up that same way that I was mentioning earlier, since right now you can see that your team's going to kind of get pushed into, and if you're going main and you go through the right side, lower right, you might end up catching someone there, and you'll probably win that 1v1 just because you'll be 200 at the time. And I wouldn't expect to find a soldier pushing there, but if you are, you're going to meet the other roamer, and you'll probably do a bit better than him, since he's going to be kind of on the low ground. You could be on that slope, just heading into the lower lobby, so that's probably the best decision. And if no one's there, you have the opportunity to peek that door and get some early damage as they're entering, but I imagine they're probably going to be there. This also works pretty well, but I would imagine this pack to be taken, and you're not really doing a whole lot here except for jumping into all of them. You hit some nice rockets, but in that kind of situation, if you're winning, like I would have expected you guys to win that fight. I don't think your demo is playing aggressively enough, and expecting to win that fight, I would look to pick off someone retreating there or deal a lot of damage early and look for a 1v1, because you can afford to since you're winning, and you probably won't lose. Like you might lose a damage trade, but it's pretty hard for you to actually get pushed off of that since you're winning the push so hard, and in general rockets are good at defending yourself. Yeah, that's about it. A situation where you're losing, you also don't want to be ending up going there, because as you saw, you were so slow that it just ended up not being a factor. You just kind of jumped in, and you were lucky to get a scout. They could have just kited you, they just chose not to. So it's nice that you're on shotgun for this last, but this means that you have to get a buff. I don't think their mechs died, and since it was a little bit after the Uber, I imagine they got 40 to 50%. So when your mech gets around 40%, you really want to be concerned about getting a buff. So you should be checking his buff pretty constantly if he's not giving you updates, or sorry, his Uber pretty constantly if he's not giving you updates. At this point, you kind of needed to resub. That damage you took there was pretty terrible. Like if you're not, it sounds stupid to say to resup as they're pushing in, but if you're not at the right health and you can't make like a certain kind of play or take a 1v1 and win or do a lot of damage, then you're going to lose the last anyway. So you kind of hope that they mess up in a sort of way, which is kind of stupid, but it's unlikely that you're going to hit a lot of shots without taking damage like that as roamer. So you should have been actively getting a buff there and been more prepared for that push. Maybe actively peeking river so that guy can't get into water for free. I don't think you should be pain training, honestly, on this map, especially to mid. It's acceptable after a respawn, but for mid it doesn't make sense at all, because a lot of this mid is positioning for scouts. And if they beat your scouts because they have better spawns or they roll out together and they can push one off, you taking that additional damage at a medium range is just gonna chew you up, and it's gonna be pretty miserable for you. So right now you're jumping too early, but you had to because the demo's choking. This is kind of a problem. See, their soldiers, I don't know if your demo's getting pushed by a scout and your scouts aren't rolling out to protect him properly, but he doesn't seem to be getting the same effect as their demo has on you guys right now. So their soldiers are kind of free to walk up banana or even counter jump you, and it's causing problems. It's actually fortunate that the pocket's still sitting around with them, because I think he's 300 and he's going to come in and kill everyone. Yeah. So he could have probably jumped you guys a little bit earlier and they wouldn't have dropped their roamer? Maybe they didn't even drop anyone, I don't know. So yeah, Pyro's an okay option. You really have to figure out where they are though, because if you don't hit them when they're coming in, you're probably going to be useless, unless they have a bad composition, which you don't really want to rely on their mistakes. And yeah, you don't want to push this without knowing exactly what's there, so maybe your scout gave you the impression that their Uber was there, but in general I'd rather sack a soldier into that, so maybe your pocket go into them, or just heavy demo spam there. The Pyros are really a class where you can't really go into them and force the Uber, you have to kind of mitigate the Uber during it. You can't really deal with it beforehand by pushing into them. That's more for soldiers and demos. So it's like not that terrible a risk to take because you guys were already losing, but I would appreciate it as a different class or a different member of the team. Okay, so you never want to stack that damage. Your scout wasn't hugging the wall, and the demo and you both took the same first stick, and it's pretty bad. So maybe if you want to get really aggressive on this demo, you learn the Zebrine rollout. I think it was him that originated it. But you're supposed to get at the same time as the demo gets the health pack. You're like in the air coming towards him. I think. I don't really know the specifics of it, but I'm sure if you ask about it on the forums or just search it, someone knows about the Zebrine rollout. Or you just ask Zebrine. But that'll get you there a bit quicker, but this kind of half quick rollout, half not, where you're not really getting there much quicker and you're still shitting on all your buff, doesn't really help a whole lot. Yeah, and this position is just awkward. You can't really do a whole lot getting jumped there, and the scouts have an easy time dodging you. Because they don't really need to commit on you there, since you're getting counter jumped anyway, so they don't feel obligated to really kill you. So, from that position, they can just kite around you pretty easily. So you should probably look to jump lower and then jump high at these mids, just because you guys are losing pretty quickly. So at the very least, your team can kind of get out, and maybe you can use the mid as sort of a sack play. But like in general, like for the mids, I would suggest that your demo do the double sticky rollout main, where he sticks from the entrance or the entrance at last to the main entrance, and then does a sticky in lower right to the shower door, just so he gets at the same time as their demo. He can hit the first stick. If he's not up there, the demo can rush up, and you can take position early, and from there the soldiers can kind of use that as a launching pad for their second jump. Or if the demo's up there, you can get aggressive on the demo, but you don't have to worry about all that spam because your demo's in a pretty optimal position to hit him. Whenever you're backing away from their choke, you just want to be looking at it, because if someone happens to peek you there, a brave scout or even a soldier can put some damage out. And even if you don't die there, they can use your lack of health to push a different position on the map, which is problematic for your teammates, obviously. It likely won't result in anything, but just a minor little pet peeve I have, I guess. So when you see them there, you might as well go into them. I think they look like they have Uber if they're pushing this, so there's no point in really surviving, because unless your medic arrows you twice here, you're not going to be able to force them now. And obviously you'd want to force them a bit earlier. And any delay you can really cause by forcing them earlier is good in a couple ways. It allows your team to kind of move around and anticipate their push for more quickly. Or not more quickly, but it gives them more time. So the earlier you die, the more notice your team has, and that's really beneficial, because if you don't succeed, you know, they can follow up on your damage, and all that time you spent slowing them down isn't kind of wasted, like it is right here. They just kind of walked into you and shit on you, and there wasn't a whole lot you could do about it. And the other situation that's really nice is because you're dying a bit earlier, your spawn is a bit later, and your team can kind of use this force as like a way to retreat out of mid and then come back in when you respawn, and that's the basic idea of it. So you won't have to use here, and if your team kind of rotates big door, by the time you respawn, if you died right there, you'd be picked up by the med there, and you guys could rush in big door, take the point for free if they took it, or stop it with Uber. But right now you're 22 and your medic didn't get the chance to arrow you, so that's just problematic.
The control point is being captured.
But yeah, you're not going to be able to do a whole lot as a soldier with 22 health, so anticipating the damage you would take and backing up, you probably should have just walked into them there. It was unfortunate that it was happening like that, but yeah. That was, I don't know, you couldn't have done a whole lot there. And I don't really know where your team was. But that was probably the best you could have made out of that situation. Although maybe kind of fall off of the platform a bit so you don't take too much damage. So you probably would favor taking the medium pack and lobby and then walking out here. Just because as you get here, you know, you want to be helping your team, but in this situation where they all die, at least you'll have the health to kind of make a play yourself, and right now you're stuck here with 130 and you won't ever do anything to them unless they just completely forget about you and walk past you and you kill the med or something. And the situation where you do have the chance to help your team, just communicate more about where your position is, so they know you're a bit slower, but you're going to come in with better health, so if there is some sort of fight going on, they can time you coming in without a buff but perfect health with their aggression, and you're not going to get mulched going in, and they're just going to kind of kill them. So you don't want to come in here at 130, even if your team's doing a good job, and jump them, because as a scout or like a soldier, I'd be glad to take that trade if we were already losing. Since we're losing, trades are a little bit better for us in our favor. I can slow them down, win a trade. Maybe I do a bunch of extra damage to other people because they don't expect me to go in. But if it's an easy kill I can take, someone coming into the fight, I'll probably look for it just because it's at most or at least I'll probably trade. And that's really nice. At least I'll probably trade and take some time away from you guys, slow you down a bit, so your advantage isn't as significant. So yeah, it just doesn't make sense to be not healthy here. And you won't even be that much slower since you can do an extra jump to get the bottle as well. So if you're gonna jump up here, you don't want to take the fall damage for one, and you probably want to do this with a buff just so you're 200 up here, or you could ask your medic to arrow you, which should be fine. Yeah, at this point, I don't know, I just don't like being that far up there because that's gonna kind of happen, where they're just gonna try and force you and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. And in general, I don't really believe in holding up there if you want to get the medic, because a good medic is kind of gonna push in and out, flow in and out of the choke just to kind of bait with his heal beam to get this roamer to drop down. So it's more appropriate to jump it repeatedly, preemptively, and if you happen to meet them as you're falling down or you meet them as you land, you just kind of sack into them if they have some sort of advantage. It creates a lot more control, and if they happen to not be there, you just reset and do it again, and you just perpetually do that until you end up dying. And in a lot of the cases, it's kind of like a luck-based thing, but for the most part, you can time it so when they're coming through, you're on the downward part of your jump, and that's almost always going to get a force if their med's not playing properly. And if not, it's still going to get a shit ton of damage on the people that are kind of getting baited by their med a little bit, so he can get a safe entrance. So you might end up killing those people if you recognize that the med's kind of playing properly and backing in and out. And in the situation where you actually land in front of them, it's not quite as ideal, but like I said earlier, you'll be slowing them down a bit more so your team can kite them long enough to get you back up. And yeah, you should probably, yeah, your scout's going forward, so that's fine. And you want to take the pill bottle to the right before you get in here. It's just not, like, okay, so you saw your scout take it, so you definitely have time to get there with the equalizer and back. So you might as well have 200 health instead of, 169. So this sounds pretty shitty, just all the crits going on. But since that soldier is weak, since the medi-beam was on the scout, you should be worried about choke right now. You can defend it pretty easily. They're not going to be able to push in with just the scout healthy, so the more damage you do here, the more it delays them, because they're worried about buffing 2 people, and any damage you can do preemptively or around corners is going to slow their push down a lot through choke. It might actually deter them to go big door, and that'll buy you guys a lot of valuable time. But yeah, being this far back is actually really risky, because you can't control them, and the scout can take the corner wide, and if he doesn't get hit by a rocket, he can just kill you for free, especially with such low ammo like this. You don't do enough damage at this range to really warrant being here. And you also don't get to see if someone goes drop down. So yeah, your team's pretty vulnerable right now to just getting pushed. They're not going to have crits quite yet. I think they'd probably get it at 9-10, so you kind of have to worry about it then. They're moving out, you guys have Uber. This is a pretty good push, but I don't know, you're again having trouble doing things with the health you have. So you might want to play situations where, even if it might be a bit better for your team to play somewhere like a choke, because they're making a mistake and they're not there themselves, you might want to be in a more favorable position for a roamer near a health pack or something, or just more conscious about health in general, because you're missing a lot of opportunities to get aggressive, and while you're doing a lot of work defensively, it's not really in line with the roamer kind of mantra of getting pretty aggressive, and as in general you want to be aggressive as you can. So yeah, this fast rollout isn't doing a whole lot for you. We saw the first mid that you ended up at 210 before you ate a direct rocket, and it's pretty safe to assume that you won't be eating that many direct rockets. So being at 210 versus being at like 230 after the buff decay since you walked up a bit isn't a whole lot of a difference. So you're not getting a lot out of jumping early. Aside from being able to get counter jumped, pretty much. And yeah, that made it just kinda easy mode for them. I think it's probably your demo just having a rough time at mid because it seems like their demo is kind of pushing you guys around pretty hard. So I think those are both scouts, or no, that's scout pocket. So you can assume, I don't know if you picked their med, I don't really know who their med is, but you can assume that they're probably have their med up top. If he's close, like as the pocket I would be capping up top. So take this buff and look river immediately, and if you do it properly, you could potentially just jump river from the right side of that wall, and maybe you'll get a pretty good force and a lot of damage. But your team's building those scouts, so you can't get a buff, which is pretty shitty. Never built a scout. Yada yada yada. That should be like the name of this demo review series. Don't build with scouts. Literally everyone does it. I don't know why. So yeah, this is good. You don't want to waste that much ammo though, because if someone sees that and they're keen, they're going to pick up on it and probably push you. It'll be dangerous with one person, but with two people pushing you, you're probably going to die. That's a nice shot. After that though, after you hit that, you can feel really comfortable that your team can clean it up. In the situation that they don't, I don't know, you get to call them shit or something, but you should probably turn your attention towards the other angles because you're more concerned about your own life at that point, because after helping with them with that, doing that damage and pushing that soldier around, you can be pretty confident that your med's not going to drop there or get forced. And in that situation, you want to just damage other people that would peek in to maybe try to supplement that soldier's bomb. And obviously looking towards them is going to help you dodge some of their damage, so you'll be more healthy and you could probably push out a bit better. Right here you're probably going to have to resub. Staying around here is pretty risky too, because just because they dropped a roamer doesn't mean they're going to have to fall back. Like right now they're still playing forward, and if their demo was playing properly he would kill you. And this is unfortunate because even if your team is playing on Ubering here, which will like having Uber, and you were Ubering into them, it would have been really nice for them still, because they're in this river area. You guys haven't spotted them out, which is kind of the job of your scouts. And they get this really long kite, and their Uber is going to be better than yours. Since it's the crits, it's always going to be terrible, like critsing into them. Since you were stuck on crits, or you just decided to go crits, you'd probably want to crit them in a situation where you don't commit anyone out of last. So find them and then crit them and make sure no one takes any damage. And then just kind of crit sticky up the other doors, something like that. But probably the most appropriate response to getting that pick is your pocket going out and suiciding, your scout going and suiciding, just so they can't get that suicide for free and you kind of get something out of it. I guess you really wanted to use that crits because you were kind of stuck on crits to their Uber, and having the pick advantage definitely would have helped with defending after that Uber, but you really needed to scout it out, and probably the suicide would have been a bit easier, because the crits at last isn't that bad. You can control all of the other doors very, very well, the doors that Ubers don't push through, to the extent that you probably would have a successful last if you had some sort of defensive class as well. So right now you're pretty fucked. You don't even want to shoot this demo because you know, killing him doesn't matter at this point. You could just kind of had to jump the point there, but you were gonna lose anyway, so it didn't matter. Just gonna fast forward. Alright. It's live. So yeah, you get here a bit better health, maybe? No, that was probably just a fast forward bug. So again, you're getting here early, but it's not really doing anything for you because their demo isn't really pressured. So like I said, just to recap, a probably better mid was demo doing the double sticky rollout, both scouts pressuring the top right, and in a lot of situations, if you set it up properly, the demo will just die there if their scouts don't roll out properly. And then jumping up there and using your soldiers as a launch pad to, or using that area as a launch pad to jump your soldiers further. And that's kind of your aggression if they kind of mirror you and go up your side. For the most part, like, their demo is just shitting on you uncontested, and that's why you guys are losing mids.
Time has been added.
So yeah, I would expect my med to die here, or at very least a scout on the ground. So you probably want to play up top or lower right and look for a pick by yourself. You get one here, which is nice, but I think your med dies in your pocket. If not, then now. Like 3 people just died and there were 3 people out, so you probably wanted to help them a bit. Just because I don't expect you guys to be able to hold after your med spawns, so you just kind of had to all in on that defense. So in that situation, you wouldn't really want to go for their med, because if you didn't kill them, it would really hurt you guys, because it's just regen it off. And it doesn't really hurt their pushing power if their med dies and you drop 4 people, they can still kind of get in if they're quick enough. So because you got that initial pick, I probably would have looked to kind of jump on other fighting classes. Alright, so you want to delay here for a bit, because you have the opportunity to jump these guys if they peek this corner. And just keep doing this, take the bottle now. Probably wouldn't try it a second time, but let's see how it works. If your team pushes with you at the right time, this is going to work really well. Your demo kind of pushes up there. If he hits the right sticky and a scout approaches that, you guys can push into river pretty easily. It's something that is really effective if you're doing kind of a standard gully wash hold. You just kind of rotate your medic for a little bit, and then have 3 people push into river in a very controlled situation where you know they're not going to be pushing. You can potentially get a pick there, and it's pretty free. As long as you know exactly what's going on. And since you were actively scouting that area, you knew exactly what was going on. So since you have the sniper, you're going to be babysitting him for a while, which is unfortunate. So I would probably peek the river a bit less. See, again, you're shooting this guy, and see all this other shit that's happening that's totally relevant and easier to hit than this air shot. Like the first splash damage, that's totally cool. That's not hard to hit, and it'll help your team out. But you can see this scout coming for your mag that you could jump and do a lot of damage to, and that'd be better than damaging the guy that everyone else is already shooting anyway, because you don't want to really stack ammo on someone. You never want to overkill someone. So in that sense, if someone's weak, you probably want to let the hit scan classes deal with it. Rumor is more of a very efficient damage trading class, just suiciding in, losing his 200 health, but he's fighting a lot of people that are very healthy, so he does, like, I don't know, twice the damage, and that's very, very good. So that's what we're looking to do. So it'd be more preferable to jump the demo who is apparently alone, or the scout, and just kind of kill those guys, or slow the combo down right now. You would have known what was going on if you kind of, instead of going for that second air shot, looked around. And that's probably what I would do in that situation. If you really want to kill that guy, you would probably jump over there, not just stay around on your position, because, again, you're getting hit, and you're not really doing a whole lot. You're not likely to hit that shot. So this demo could have easily died to you, like, a couple times. And they make a pretty good play, and they're going to push in now. Your med's down. If they wait a bit later, you'd probably lose even harder since you guys didn't have buffs. But it doesn't matter, they're going to get this push pretty successfully. So I think you guys would benefit from not having a sniper. If you like off-classing, then you guys should probably run a heavy or an NG, something that actually deters them from jumping in. If not, I'd probably run the scout and have him be in charge of scouting river, and you play more aggressively in the top right, because it's really easy to peek into lobby with that, especially with the regular, so you might want to switch to that for this last. And you can just do constant damage and really disrupt their positioning, and obviously no one's going to be able to get in through there. So their demo misses you this time, but you're sitting on the ground. So in the situation where you're 250, you really have to use that opportunity to jump somewhere. I probably jump low, just because to me that's been the general theme. You jump up, and their positioning is so much better than than yours as a team, that you kind of get mulched by people. So in maximizing your individual efficiency, you probably want to jump low and then jump behind them. So maybe, yeah, just jump low left and then jump behind them on the right, kind of thing. And that way you can do a lot of damage. You did a lot of damage with some spam there, but it's not enough because, yeah, your team's a little bit too just out-positioned from the get-go. You guys want to go up top right now because you're kiting this aggression, and at the same time you can delay the point. And if they kind of get in lobby, you can go into the point and stop it, because you're looking to... That's a good trade, but you're looking to... Did they end up Ubering? Did I hear them Uber? I don't know. You're looking to slow them down a lot to get your spawns in a pretty good position. But I guess you guys died early enough on mid that it didn't matter. See, this is... He takes way too long to die there. You guys need to work on killing those people quicker. And yeah, heavy's pretty appropriate here since you guys keep getting bombed. That suicide was too late. It needs to be quicker. It's not hard to just go in. Just make it clear to your scouts that you're not really concerned about the success rate of a suicide. You just want to sync up the spawns. So you guys have a better Uber here. I don't know why they Ubered. That scope pick is not good to push on. So you're probably going to hold this for another Uber. You're going to try to not get suicided on here. Okay, your scout doesn't need to come down there. You can kill that guy pretty much easy mode as long as you just keep fighting him. I'd probably would have taken that corner and pushed him towards the point and cut off his retreat. So if he went towards the point, your team could obviously pick him up for free. But you don't want your scout getting damaged here, because he or the pocket is probably the class that's going to be suiciding off of this kill right now. And they're actually going in. I think your demo needs to sticky things a bit better. Because right now he's not really doing a whole lot. And then, yeah, they repushed that, and it's pretty embarrassing that it worked, but like, your demo definitely needs to sticky things, because there's a lot of people getting in, or at least actively be sticking something and deading something. So in order for someone to get in, they have to take a lot of damage. Because right now he's not doing a whole lot. Maybe he's sticking the shower door, but that's kind of crap. They're going to Uber through there anyway. It's really just like a big choke point, so there's no point in sticking it. But for the most part, that was like, that entire game was just your team as a whole not succeeding at mid, and kind of, yeah, couldn't really win off of that. So just do what I suggested. Demo man, double sticky rollout big door. Double scout aggression to the top right. If they play it properly, they're beating the scout on overhang, so they can 2v1 him, push him down, or the scout that goes up the elbow instead of jumping on planks can commit on the demo if your demo gets good stickies on him. And that's probably it. Or you guys might want to try a choke rollout, because you seem to prefer kind of a slower mid. And yeah, you can have a little bit of option there, going drop down or actually going choke, depending on what your scouts see. So try something like that, because that mid wasn't working out at all.